Street, yeah. All right. Well, before Barb's was born, we must have, Daddy started working on his doctor's degree, which meant that every summer he went to Chicago and he stayed with Mo and Mutti. And some years we went along too, and you were pretty little when we would go, and we'd be there in the summertime. How my parents could put up with this, I have no idea, but they did.
How big was their apartment?
How big was what?
Was their apartment?
They had a two-bedroom house, and then they had a big closed-in porch. So somebody slept on the porch, and we had the one bedroom, and my folks had the other bedroom. You know, it was a pretty crowded situation, but they put up with it.
Oh, they loved it, I'm sure.
Well,
Right, we would have welcomed all our kids with children.
yeah, you love it to a point, but it had to be pretty. They must have sighed a sigh of relief every time we left, because being there a whole summer. Well, I don't know, I'm not recording now.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that.
It's okay.
Okay, well, coming to Manitou Street was, we had been there, well, finally Barb's was out of the cast, and then it was a while before she could walk, of course. And she was in the cast for, what did I say, was it 6 months? You know, and she finally started to pull herself up. And when we were invited to the, our neighbors down the street, no, I can't think of their names. She was another voice teacher, the Schmitz. They invited us down one time, and while we were there, Barb's took her first step, and Lenore never forgot that. That was pretty exciting for us. So, but that made life a lot easier, of course, having our own home. But we hadn't been there terribly long when Daddy had to go to Chicago to spend a year in Chicago to work on his degree. So then we had to rent out our house. And that's one of the hardest things I've ever done, was having to store everything, get the house cleaned out so they could bring their furniture and live in our house for a year while we lived in Chicago for a year. And of course we couldn't take much with us. We took you boys' beds and Barb's bed, and I think we borrowed furniture from Lee and Dorothy, and several of our friends in Chicago gave us furniture to. We finally found this little basement apartment where we lived, and
What part of town was that?
that was on the north side. It was in Andersonville, which is a good Swedish section of Chicago, which was kind of fun. And you boys went to Trumbull School, and you remember that. And it was an unusual building. It wasn't a very inviting looking building. And when I took you kids to Dr. Meyer, we went back to Dr. Meyer then, of course, for a pediatrician. And I remember bringing Terry there one time, and he asked Terry, "Where are you going to school?" And Terry, I said, "I'm going to Trumbull School." And Dr. Meyer said, "Oh, you mean that school that looks like a prison?" And Terry said, "Yes, but you can't tell a book by its cover." You were both very satisfied with Trumbull School.
Wow.
The first couple of days we were there, they had a hobby fair, and Terry at that time had started to collect butterflies. Some people had returned from the mission field, and they lived on Manitou Street, and they had kids, and one of the boys had been collecting butterflies in some place in the Far East, wherever it was, and he showed Terry how to do that. So Terry brought his butterfly collection to school that day when they were going to have the hobby fair. And he got first prize for it. And of course that started him out right in school. And you were in first grade and you were learning very fast. And by the time mid-semester came, the teacher came to me and she said she wanted to put you in second grade. You were in first grade and she wanted to put you in second grade. And I had to say no, because I knew we didn't have mid-semester in Northfield. And that would mess things up. You'd have to skip still another half grade when we got back. And I knew who the boys were that you were going to be in school with. And I figured you were on a par with those kids, and that's, you would have just the right competition with them. I figured that's where you belong. So. But you both had a really good time in school. You had good teachers, and I had worried about going to Chicago schools, but it worked out okay. Well, I think that's enough for tonight. I think I'm tired.